Hey everyone, I'm Hob.
I'm Jimmy.
And you're watching Dungeons & Dragons.
Dragons.
And this is the 10th in our 12, I can count, 10,
No, you can't.
12 weeks of adventurers. And without further ado,
Oh
the
God,
song.
here we go. On the 10th week of adventures, my DM gave to me 10 monks a leaping, 9 clerics praying, 8 rogues a thieving, 7 sorcerers conjuring, 6 fighters tanking, 5 shining paladins, 4 warlocks packing, 3 rangers tracking,
No,
2
you had it right the first
and
time.
a druid trying to talk to the trees.
I don't know what the Warlocks are packing, but they're going places.
The warlocks have places to be. The warlocks have places to be, man.
So, monks. Monks. We're doing monks this week. Yes,
Monkey
monks.
man.
Monkey man.
Yeah,
I like the
monks.
little monkey man.
Yeah, I had a
Anyhow.
character that always said that.
Yep.
Ready?
Go.
What elements might you include for the monk?
Alcohol. Depending on the
I mean, if
archetype.
they're playing a drunken monk,
on the
yeah.
archetype, yeah.
Gotta be a lot of alcohol involved.
So, rival monk, I guess dojos.
Yeah.
Or temples. Rival monk factions would be a really good one to include. Prowess battles, whose style is better, stuff like that. Fight clubs are always a popular choice.
For monks.
Yeah, sure. The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club.
Nobody talks about Fight Club.
Nobody talks about Fight Club. There are a lot of elements that you can include for a monk. The loss of their temple, artifacts stolen from their temple, things that are related to honor, depending on the type of monk. You just go watch a kung fu movie and you're good, right? Just take a kung fu movie plot.
Any kung fu movie?
Yeah, Kung Fu Hustle works. I'm telling you, it totally works. Way of the open hand.
What is your favorite house rule for this class? Ooh, okay. My favorite house rule for this class, because I use this all the time, is that it does not take a key point to disengage.
That's right.
I think it's dumb
And
that rogues can disengage and monks cannot.
We'll talk about that more in a second.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're back.
I
So,
love Jefferson Airplane. Okay.
there's nothing wrong with Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah.
Anyhow, different conversation.
Yeah, okay, here we go.
So back to the Dungeons & Dragons. House rules that we love for the monk.
We're gonna fall.
We're getting tippy. We're getting
Okay,
a
we
little
gotta
tipsy.
park the
Getting
car.
a little tipsy.
Gonna have to park the car.
So we are parked.
Okay,
How was that
good.
for a fun and
That was
entertaining
fun.
ride?
I'm sorry if you're
you guys-
nauseous.
Camera stabilization or something. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Not like I'm getting out of the car, right? So anyhow, favorite house rules. You like the not disengage thing.
Yep.
The no key point for disengage. I mean, I get it. I get why they do it for balance. But bonus action to disengage for the monk.
I think it's dumb that the monk cannot disengage without spending a key point. So my house rule is you don't have to.
Actually, I don't really have a favorite house rule. I'm kind of of the same opinion. I feel like it's a little stupid for a monk to have to spend a key point to disengage.
I mean, they're a monk, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
They should be able to disengage.
Like that should just be a part of the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again,
Of their
go
monthly
watch
powers.
go watch a kung fu
Should
movie.
be part of their monthly
Go watch
powers.
a kung fu movie. No monk fights one opponent on the battlefield. They move from one to the next to the next to the next.
Yeah.
There's no disengage there.
Especially if the bad guys are all standing around looking threatening
That's
and
right.
not actually doing anything.
Are you threatening me? I might
Yes.
disengage.
I bite my thumb at you.
You
All right.
bite your thumb at me, sir.
I do bite my thumb, sir. What is the best buddy comedy pairing for this class?
With a monk?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It depends on the size of the monk.
True. Fighter or barbarian would be funny.
Oh, because if you go with a barbarian, you
Yeah,
can
they
all
can throw the
you
monk.
can dig out the fastball special, which is, if you're a comic book fan, you'll understand the reference.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, go figure it out. Search the interwebs. Yeah, I feel like a fighter Actually, you know what would be really, really funny?
What?
Again, I go back to the straight man and the comedian. You put a paladin with a monk. Like a drunken monk.
Oh, a drunken monk and a paladin.
Right? The paladin is always trying to get the drunken monk to stop drinking. Right? You know, like this, you get this whole...
It could be a great buddy comedy there.
Great buddy comedy.
Yep.
So there you go.
What challenges can this class bring to the table? You know, and it could just be, again, my table, but I haven't found a lot of, like, challenging player issues that it brings to the table.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge is how complex if you have new players, how complex the key point system can
The monk can be a very complex character to play for new players. I think that it presents... Until you start getting into the mid to high level monk abilities, it suffers from a damage deficiency.
Yeah, I can see that. We do a lot of magic items to beef the monks up in the early
levels,
don't
yeah,
die horribly sometimes.
Right. Well, and because the monks suffer, like they have the ability to put out a lot of attacks potentially early on.
Oh, and that was one of my.
But it's super low damage, and if you're playing in a heroic level kind of game, that the monk suffers horribly in that. Yeah, and we've seen that.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why we allow that disengage.
Yep, that's part of it. We tend to play more heroic games, or almost super heroic style games.
We like them
than 5e really supports. So we have to do a lot of adjusting in terms of magic items and that kind of stuff to make it work better.
What is the biggest misconception about this class?
I don't know. I've thought about that, and I don't know that the monk is actually a pretty straightforward class. I think that sometimes people get a little hung up on the potential religious aspect, because again, Western culture, we hear monk, and a lot of times we think little old man in brown robes, and that's not with a rosary, and that's not really what the monk is all about. The monk is very much an Eastern flavored character class, and very much about the physical combat, wall running and stuff like that. You're very much looking at like the Eastern Buddhist fighting monks kind of thing. So I think that's probably the only misconception that I can think of.
Right.
I don't know. I might be doing a terrible job at this. I can't think of any though.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons that I really like the monk class is because the second I say to somebody, they're like, "Oh, monk," and I'm like, less brown robes and more kung fu movie. They go, oh, yeah. And like that.
Not brown robes, Bruce Lee.
Yeah. And the second you kind of give that image, a lot of people run with it. It's one of the few classes where I feel like there are enough that the contemporary media supports really kind of lines up well.
I agree.
So yeah. How can you help?
Did you just skip a question? You did.
Yeah, I did. What kind of baddie is good to challenge this class? If you've got a monk, what do you put in front of it?
I mean, like another monk, and of similar capability. Presents a challenge. Very high.
Magic users a lot.
Magic users. Anything that can debuff. Is going to present a lot of challenges to the monk, especially
or make the train difficult.
Yeah. It may make moving from target to target very difficult. Anything that presents a debuff type of situation is going to challenge the monk, unless they can get to it quickly, in which case it might not.
Yeah.
High hit points, something that's very, very meaty and hard to beat down is going to present a challenge to your monk,
like
too.
Super armored
Yeah,
turtle.
like very high armor class, very high hit points. High armor class isn't always going to be a problem for the monk, but if you combine that with a high hit points,
And that can be.
the monk will be presented challenges. Anything that flies.
Oh yeah, flying.
Anything flying
things could be hard
is
for the
going to
monk.
present a real challenge to the monk unless they're very dedicated to darts and that kind of stuff. So.
How can you help a player be successful in this class?
I really think setting the tone, like you said, getting them away from the idea of, old man in brown robes with a rosary and on
Unless
to
they
Bruce
really
Lee.
want to play that kind of monk. I mean,
In which case, make them play a cleric.
Really? Because I would think that would be hilarious. He's like little man, little old graying man with his books, and then all of a sudden he's like, whoa!
Yeah, but again, you come back to that's more the Buddhist.
Yeah, but maybe you just don't understand why I find that hilarious, but I find it hilarious.
I mean, like, I guess I get what you're saying. The stark contrast to there. Yeah, okay, I got it.
Especially if he's like a little old gnome with graying hair. I would love that. That would be hilariously funny.
But anyhow, setting the right tone, making sure that the player really has a good understanding of the key point system and what their play options are, both in and out of combat, are going to probably be the most useful tools to help a player be successful.
Oh yeah.
And for combat, I would suggest even running individual mock combats to give the player a chance to kind of exercise that a little bit before you go into actual gameplay.
Especially if you've got a new
Especially,
a new
yeah,
character
if they're
who's
a newer player or someone who's never played the monk before.
But I find like the things that really, this could be taken for any character really, is that a lot of people who pick up D&D for the first time, they don't understand that like, I don't want to say a homework, but yeah, there's a little bit of homework involved.
There is.
With the game at the beginning until you really get a handle for it. But I always encourage them to really read that player's handbook.
Sunlight coming down here. I'm like,
That's okay. I look pale and weird today.
nah,
It's cool.
whatever. It's all good.
Are there subclasses you avoid at the table for this class and why?
Not that I've encountered yet.
Not for the monk. I mean, no, the monk has been pretty. It's been a pretty solid.
It's been fairly consistent across all of. It's been well balanced across all of the subclasses. I think it's one of the few character classes that I think is actually well balanced across all of the subclasses. And bearing in mind that we've not played all of them,
Right.
but they all seem to be fairly well balanced against each other and powerful in the right ways in their own right. And so I haven't really.
I've
I haven't
never met
encountered a subclass.
monk where
I haven't.
I'm like, oh, we're going to be playing a dungeon crawl, and someone goes, well, I'm playing this kind of monk, and I'm like, oh, why play dungeon crawl?
Yeah.
I haven't encountered that yet.
They're very good. They're very well. They're a good utility class all the way
Just
around.
all the way
I think.
around. What player personality would get the most out of this class? Well, someone who likes kung fu movies.
Yeah, someone who likes kung fu movies, someone who is interested in fast, active combat is probably going to get a lot out of it, because the monk is, if done right, all about fast, active combat.
Yeah, in and out. The ones that don't want to be.
You're in, you're back out again, you're in again, you're back out again, or you're bouncing from one opponent to the next. And I think that's something that might be one of the misconceptions that's the most frustrating about the monk is, now that I think about it and I've had a chance to chew on that one and let it marinate for a bit, is that you have to focus on a single target. And I think that's a misconception. I think that's a misconception across a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. But the monk very specifically is designed to go from one opponent to another opponent in rapid succession.
A lot like a
and a
rogue.
lot of times they'll focus all of their attention on a single target on the field, and they'll be like, I'll use my rapid attack. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll strike with my sword over here, and then I punch them at the same time. When the reality is what you should be doing is striking with your sword, and then moving to another target and striking that target with your fists, and then moving to another target and striking with your fists, and spreading that damage out across multiple targets is going to be the most valuable function for the monk.
Yeah.
Like, really.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, because what it does is it rapidly moves damage through the field and softens the opponents up for your other damage dealers.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
So, there's my 2 pennies on the monk.
I think a lot of times that the thing that holds people back from moving around the components is that they're less likely to get those final, finish him, final hit kind of things.
Yeah,
At least in their minds.
Maybe,
so.
yeah. I mean, that could definitely be what it is. And I think we've looped around. We've finished out the monk.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because, like, some of these classes we have a lot to say about because, like, we've run into issues with them. We've run into people who play them so strangely. But monk is not. There are a couple of classes where I don't feel like they have a lot of those same things.
Excuse me. I think that you can run into it with any character class. I think we've just been fortunate in that some character classes we haven't run into issues.
Yet.
We haven't run into those issues. So, as always, please let us know what you think. If you think that there are things that we missed, if you'd like to give us your 2 cents, please leave those in the comments below.
Yep.
Tell us how much you love us, hate us. It's all good in my book. If you like what we're doing, please click the like and subscribe buttons and click the little bell so that you get notifications about our new videos. And other than that, thank you for joining us and have a wonderful day.
Have fun storming the castle.